Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Thank God It's Smarky. This is going to be a wrestling podcast that we plan to have out every weekend, this one being the exception. We had a few issues recording this one, so it's out a little bit later. This podcast will be being uploaded onto both YouTube and iTunes, so you can feel free to check out the description to find more info there. But anyway, what this podcast will be doing is we'll be talking about the week's wrestling. So we'll be covering Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and then any other kind of big news that's happened during the week. I'm Sam, and I'm here with Matt.
Hello.
Joe.
Hello.
And Ben.
Hey, yo.
So yeah, we're going to kind of go straight into this. We don't want to be messing about too much. Depending on where you're listening to us, you can check out where else to find us in the description below. But I think we should just crack on and start talking about Raw.
What a Raw.
Yeah.
Here comes the
Fucking
money.
good Raw.
So yeah, obviously the biggest talking point to talk about of this week's Raw would be the return of Shane McMahon. What did
Mac Daddy.
everyone here make of that?
I thought it was
Fantastic.
fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic.
The perfect thing about this return is that, aside from a couple of people that were oh, yeah, you should definitely tune into Raw because there's something big that's going to go down, we knew absolutely nothing about who was going to show up. And unlike most of the other returns or debuts or, just big moments, this is the one that actually genuinely surprised me, and that's what made it, so damn good to watch. And Shane McMahon's been everyone wanted to see Shane McMahon for years on end now, to come back and, fight against the authority, fight against Vince McMahon again. So this return was just perfectly timed, and the promo that followed it, was just brilliant. Everything about it, the story that they're going with, with Shane taking over Raw to what I'm guessing is going to be fight against the rest of the WWE, it's exactly what we need at this point where most of the fans are quite pessimistic towards WWE programming. However, what I will disagree with the Shane McMahon stuff is the booking against The Undertaker.
I agree. The only thing I didn't like from Shane was that he no-sold having to face Taker. Then he no-sold again the match being on Hell in a Cell.
He did
But
act
other than
very
that,
sort
it was
of
perfect.
ambivalent towards it.
Definitely. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I got the sense that it was panic booking. Because
I wouldn't say panic booking, but I do get what you mean.
if I said to you, Joe, on the night of Fastlane, if I said, so tomorrow night on Raw, they're going to announce in the opening segment that The Undertaker is going to face Shane McMahon in a Hell in a Cell match, you'd laugh in my face.
I've got a good example.
Yeah.
My brother is like a casual watcher, and when he heard it was Taker and Shane, his first response was like, really?
Yeah.
Shane? Is that who Taker's got? Shane McMahon? Don't know about that.
I wouldn't quite put it on the sense of oh, really? Why him? I think it's more of okay, that came out of nowhere kind of, oh, really? You know what I'm saying? What a lot of people are sort of skipping over here is that Shane McMahon is now 46 years old. I mean,
I don't know if
The
you've been
Undertaker's
keeping
not a
up with his Instagram, but he's still athletic.
yeah, I'm not doubting that, and I know he's training really fucking hard at the moment with one of the best Muay Thai trainers out there. But Shane McMahon is known for these huge spots where he's falling off the Titantron and being thrown off scaffolding and stuff like that. Do we really expect him to be doing stuff like that at WrestleMania at 46 years old?
No.
Like,
But then again, we have literally no idea what condition his body's in. He's had a few years off from actual physical work now.
yeah,
So he could probably still have that one big bump left in him.
that's true. I don't know. I worry for him more than I do anyone else. I mean, The Undertaker, he's fairly safe in the ring, but I don't know if I trust Shane to be as safe as he is.
Well, there's a bit of a long break. I don't know. I don't know if you can... I don't know if it's necessarily panic booking as much as... I mean, you guys are on about, it became as a big shock, Shane being his opponent, but I think that just kind of speaks to the lack of star power on the roster rather than it being necessarily desperation.
Oh, definitely, but, I mean, if you're looking at the roster as you have it now, with the lack of star power, wouldn't it have been a better decision to put The Undertaker against someone that is on the rise in the roster, like, say, Kevin Owens?
Oh, I
He's
wanted
been
that
lobbying
match.
for that match, he's
I
been going on
wanted
for
that.
like 2 months to get a match
But
with
there's
the
no... what would the storyline be behind it other than Kevin Owens? He's trying to prove he's the best, but...
In fairness, what's really... I mean, we don't know yet, because Undertaker hasn't spoken, but what's really the story behind Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker? I mean, we've got the McMahon feud, but we've got no personal beef between Shane and Taker.
Exactly.
Well, no,
That's
yeah,
what
but
it feels like
Vince
it's
using
together.
Undertaker as a lapdog to deal with this guy who's come in and embarrassed him. Like,
Doesn't
The
that
Undertaker
devalue
hasn't necessarily
Undertaker
agreed to the
completely?
match.
Doesn't that kind of devalue him in a way? Like,
Uh,
The Undertaker
An
is...
owner doing what an evil owner would do as he would.
I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I think The Undertaker's beyond this. I think he's beyond being the pawn of Vince McMahon. I think, the match against The Undertaker has been valued so high over the past few years. Like, it's secondary to the main event, essentially. Like, whoever gets to go against The Undertaker is one of the biggest sort of deals right now.
A lot of people claim that the match is always worthy of being the main event.
Definitely. And now it's sort of like the boss is being like, oh, yeah, you can go in the match.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, definitely. Ben, what do you think?
I don't know. I'd love to see, Vince has, a hold over him from, years ago. But I don't know how they're going to go down this route. It'd be interesting to see. Be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely a spectacle, and if WrestleMania, if nothing else, it definitely is a spectacle, and it does like these kind of marquee matches that don't necessarily make sense in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the question you've got to ask at this point, and I know this rumour has been floating about quite a few forums and stuff, is Shane actually going to be the one wrestling The Undertaker?
I'd be disappointed if it wasn't, because now I've considered it and I'm anticipating what it is. I'd be very blue-balled if it was, it's actually going to be John Cena or someone else.
I do agree, but I mean, it would probably be a better match. Like, as good as this build can be, I think I would rather sit down and watch an able John Cena, even though at this point, he's in a questionable state regarding his health. But, I think I'd rather see the John Cena Undertaker match along with this build rather than a 46-year-old Shane McMahon stumble about and probably get blown up within the first 2 minutes of the match.
I mean, there's no
I'd
guarantee
rather
of
see
that.
that match as well. But I don't see it. I think it'll be Shane.
Yeah.
No, I'm very optimistic towards this match.
This is the kind of match where they can kind of get away with it a little bit more in the sense of overbooking it. We might see a special guest referee, for example, and they can kind of go down the route similar to how Triple H and Sting did last year.
Yeah, definitely. And that wouldn't be a problem, I don't think. If we had Vince come out halfway through the match and then Stone Cold sort of give a little flashback to the Attitude Era Austin McMahon rivalry sort of thing, I mean, that'd be great.
Certainly very exciting. As far as kind of the Attitude Era goes, that brings us quite nicely on to our next point, which would be that the second match confirmed for WrestleMania, well, the third match, of course, Triple H versus Roman Reigns being the first one, Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker, and then we've got Dean Ambrose against Brock Lesnar.
Hell fucking yes. I'm so happy this is being booked over Lesnar and Wyatt. I mean, as much as I love Bray Wyatt, I couldn't help but feel like Brock Lesnar would have been wasted on that feud. the match could have been amazing, but the build, there's nothing appealing there for me personally. It just seems like a complete mismatch of people. Whereas you put Lesnar against Ambrose, two people that can sort of reignite that Attitude Era style of feud.
It certainly helps that they've set the seeds for it in the last few weeks.
For sure. I mean, the Fastlane triple threat. It didn't really. I felt like there could have been a lot more from Ambrose and Lesnar, especially considering that most of the build towards that triple threat match was focused between those two, whereas Reigns was just sort of like hanging about in the background and eventually won the match, which was of course questionable, but it was going to happen either way. But the fact that these two are going into a street fight at WrestleMania, I couldn't be more excited. I think it's going to be an absolutely fantastic match.
I think this
Most
will be
likely
a
a
show
show
stealer.
stealer. Definitely. Like, if anyone needs a show stealer right now, it's Dean Ambrose. Seeing as he's been playing second fiddle, best friend to Roman Reigns, the guy who's obviously taking the main event. Ambrose needs that extra little push behind him, and that being the match that everyone remembers at WrestleMania 32. And then from there, you can obviously hopefully put him into a title feud with whoever comes out of WrestleMania champion.
WrestleMania star.
Yeah.
'Cause we don't like numbers anymore.
No. When it comes to the match itself for WrestleMania, I fully expect these two to go all out. I think this is going to be a street fight. Unlike what we've seen from most other no DQ, no holds barred, whatever you want to call it, Extreme Rules matches for the past few years. I mean, Brock's obviously got the tendency to go all out for his matches and make him a bit more...
And they both tell a really good story as well. Brock's going to literally have to kill Ambrose to get the win and pull out something big. And then the same, if Ambrose goes over too, he's going to have to do something huge to get a win over Brock. It's just going to be a physical match. Hopefully it'll be brutal as well, everyone just kicking the fuck out of each other.
I don't expect anything less from them. It just seems like the perfect two guys to go against each other.
It's going to be one of probably the most physical matches we're going to see this side of this year, anyway.
Yeah. I think that the changing character of Dean Ambrose as of late, I think it perfectly suits a rivalry with Brock as well. Instead of going down the route of crazy lunatic asylum man person thing,
I did my head in.
It was stupid. I mean, there was no other gimmicks you could really give Ambrose off the bat after the Shield's destruction, if you will. But now that he's becoming this Iron Man kind of character, where he just takes all of the shit that's given to him physically, but just keeps getting up, that's perfect.
Such a perfect gimmick for any babyface. And Ambrose plays it so well.
Oh yeah, he's pulled it off amazing. I think Brock has been a blessing in disguise for Ambrose. He's brought the best out of Ambrose since the Shield days.
And Heyman will too, on the mic.
Oh, the promos
Heyman.
leading up to
Heyman and
WrestleMania.
Ambrose.
So much Heyman love right there.
Oh, but I think you've got to.
Where does he go afterwards, sir? That's my main...
Who, Ambrose?
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is arguable, of course, but I think the ideal thing after the match with Brock, whether he wins or loses, is to shove him straight in the title feud with Roman Reigns and turn him heel, Raw after Mania.
This match should be a launching pad by all means.
Yeah. If Ambrose steals the show, I'm pretty sure the majority of us are expecting, there is no way he can't be number one contender after this. And if you want to keep the momentum going after WrestleMania, which is what they try every year but somehow fails, you need Ambrose and Reigns as your marquee feud for the next few months. And whether you want to turn Ambrose heel or not, I don't know. Personally, I would, because I think
I would.
Yeah, I wouldn't say turn him full heel. Not he comes out every week oh, screw all of you and fuck your football team. But just have him become himself rather than Roman Reigns'
I'd like to see his little psycho Ambrose from his FCW.
Yeah, that's it. If you sort of have him develop into a tweener instead of babyface, kind of like what Brock's got going for him at the moment. It works so well for him, especially a feud with Reigns as well.
Sure. Speaking of Roman Reigns, I'm going to talk about the end segment of Raw, which involved Triple H standing tall over a bloody Roman Reigns.
Cheers.
So we had Roman Reigns using a blood pack instead of blading. What does everyone make of that?
It shouldn't take away from the story. It's
Yeah,
not a consequential
Just
point
made
at
of
all.
that. I agree with Joe. I don't care how the blood's come about. That segment was...
It's all about the
great.
visual, and the visual it provided was
Yeah,
top
for
notch.
sure. I
The
think
only
it's certainly-
thing I have to complain about that segment was the DX chop from Triple H, because that is going to get a face pop. And
yeah,
I think he should be aiming for heel heat. And he can do it easy.
yeah, definitely. And I think he proved that on SmackDown this week. Like, he opened the show with, the classic coming out in his suit promo where he goes on about how the authority's above everyone else and so on and so forth. It proves that he can still get over as a heel with the right crowd. But unfortunately, that's not the same crowd that's going to be there at WrestleMania this year.
I don't think the crowd has to do anything. I think if you do the right things, you're gonna get heat. Like Bully Ray, from his TNA heel run, he got a heat crowd from every type of crowd, and I think that's just lazy, saying it depends on the crowd. I think if you want heat, you can go get heat.
I think there is an element of, ego coming into this, though. Like, if we look at Triple H and all of his matches in the past few years, including the ones against Daniel Bryan, where he was meant to be the big monster heel against a small Daniel Bryan babyface, he tried his best to get over as a babyface. Have anyone else noticed that? But
I thought he did a great job when he handcuffed Daniel Bryan. That got him some good heat.
that was great, but he didn't do that at WrestleMania. In that WrestleMania match, he tried his best to act like, I'm going to try and get as many pops as I can by doing the crotch chop and, have my big comeback moment. Maybe this is a bad example to use the Daniel Bryan match because of how over Daniel Bryan was, but I can't help but see him do this against Roman Reigns. He's going to try his best to relive the times when he was the big name who drew all the crowds. Do you know what I mean?
And it's disappointing because he could easily get the heat.
Mm.
I'm hoping Vince just comes out and goes, stop, just get the heat. Because Roman's meant to be Vince's baby after all, Vince's project. Sorry. So I'm hoping Vince just says, just get the heat.
Yeah, I hope so.
At the same time, undoubtedly, there's going to be a section of that crowd that wants to cheer Triple H almost solely because he's against Roman Reigns, isn't there?
No, we just said this. If you wanted heat, you could get heat. Bully Ray got heat from every crowd in TNA.
I just
And
think
everyone loved Bully Ray because he was that good, but didn't want the cheers. He wanted the heat. If you could get the heat, you could get the heat. I think it's just lazy saying it's Smarky crowds. That's just lazy.
but I think it will be, particularly going into WrestleMania, because it's going to be the night after NXT TakeOver. And I think a large portion of that crowd will love Triple H regardless.
Definitely. Regarding the
Well,
blood,
it all depends on the build-up.
Yeah.
the more they do this sort of Attitude Era-ish stuff with the blood and whatnot, the more Triple H is going to get over as a babyface. If Roman comes out on Raw tonight, and
Completely fine. No blood. No injuries. He's like, I'm going to beat Triple H at WrestleMania. Just you wait. Then that's going to just make people even angrier.
yeah, it's
And
going to
that's
be
exactly what I'm expecting.
and it probably will.
Smarky Roman.
But if he comes out
Get the
and
crowd
acts,
booing him.
if he comes out and acts like he did the night of TLC, when suddenly overnight everyone was like, "Oh my god, yeah, I've always liked Roman Reigns. He's so cool." If he responds with that, then this feud is going to be fantastic, and Roman Reigns will get over as that babyface. Perhaps not with all of the crowd, but I think with at least half, it will be a good sort of 50-50 crowd.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be cookie cutter, you know, this is your babyface, this is your heel going into WrestleMania. If the crowd is responding in any way to both of those guys, you know, as long as the crowd is hot, that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, and I think the match will be great anyway. I mean, those two will probably complement each other's styles extremely well. And if they just go out and have a proper fight instead of a wrestling match, if you will, then I'm sure we're in for a good main event.
I think it'll be a mix of both, though. Like, I think at the start, they're just going to pound each other. It's going to be a bit stiff at first. Then you have your, like, typical Triple H ring general stuff. But I reckon it'll be a good match. I reckon it'll be a bit of mix between Triple H's in-ring general taking over the match, and it's going to be stiff as well. And it should be stiff because of the storyline behind it.
Definitely.
Like, it's a big, long build-up, and there's a lot of heat in the feud. So I think this could be like one of the matches of the night with the Brock and Ambrose one.
Sure, definitely. I tell you what won't be match of the night though. Whatever the fuck Ryback gets put into. What happened on Raw?
A mess happened on Raw.
Ryback's very strange heel turn.
I mean, for those who haven't seen Raw, and I'm sure after a week of it being available, you probably have, but like in case you don't know, there was a rematch from Fastlane between Ryback, Big Show, Kane against Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan. The face team was fairly dominant throughout, from what I remember, but for some bizarre reason, before Kane was able to hit the choke slam, Ryback decided to just walk off.
And then Kane was like, "What's going on? Ryback, where are you going?" And didn't bother to, fight his opponent.
Yeah, and Bray Wyatt hits Sister Abigail, and there we go, 50-50 booking at its best. But what confused me more is that the promo afterwards that Ryback cut backstage, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the reason I left them was because I'm sick of being in tag teams. I want to be out on my own because I'm so much more successful as a singles competitor." But the past few months has proven that he can't get a win unless he's in a tag team. I mean, the night before at Fastlane, he got a pay-per-view win in a tag team match.
I've already forgotten about.
It's really strange. That promo makes so much more sense coming off of a loss at Fastlane, and yet for some bizarre reason they gave him the win.
It just doesn't make sense. And there is no direction whatsoever coming out of this, because it's not like Ryback explicitly turned heel on Big Show or Kane. There's no feud being set up from there. So, what do we do? Like, what's Ryback's motivation here? Aside from, fuck those guys.
It's just a big shame because, it means with them deciding to go with Ambrose and Lesnar, it leaves a huge lack of direction for Bray Wyatt. And it's a shame because I really like him, and it doesn't look like he's going to have... Yeah, it just doesn't look like he's going to have any kind of big match at WrestleMania at the moment.
No, but...
The only thing I can see him doing is either going for the US title or the Battle Royal.
Yeah. I mean, the Battle Royal is so far beneath him at this point.
Yeah. I don't feel like Bray Wyatt should be in the Battle Royal, which is likely going to be on the pre-show.
Yeah.
Like,
the Wyatt family, I'll accept. Like, Rowan, Harper, Strowman, fair enough. But Wyatt himself, definitely not.
Can you imagine him going from wrestling The Undertaker last year to wrestling on the pre-show this year?
Exactly. And I mean, the US title as well, suggesting that he could feud with Kalisto going into WrestleMania. I think even that's somewhat below him. I mean, I know he hasn't won any titles in his history, but at this point, I think when you go from wrestling The Undertaker by being given that honor of having that match to which could be considered the main event, I mean, it wasn't last year, but, you get where I'm coming from, to suddenly being like, yeah, you're going for the US title. I mean, I think there's somewhat of a... what am I trying to say here? Like...
You bearing the US title, love it.
And they have tried to rise the US title in the last year. Let's not forget that. You know,
They've tried, but I think it's certainly devalued
I think there's
itself.
loads of things you can do with Bray Wyatt and US title.
But I don't see it now. That's the problem.
Like, you could just like have Bray cutting promos how Sister Abigail ordered them to get, because with
She would have demanded him, if we're going along that route, that he would go after the championship rather than this prop.
I think you've been a bit too harsh on the US title.
I think I am as well. I mean, I want to agree with you to the point where, you know, the US title is still important enough to be put on big players like Bray Wyatt. But, you know, if you look back to 2006, 2007, did you ever see The Undertaker suddenly just go, oh yeah, Mr. Kennedy, Chavo Guerrero, I want your US title?
you know, at the same time,
Ambrose, US champion.
you know, at the same time, Bray Wyatt hasn't, you know, as much as we might want him to be, he's not at the level of The Undertaker. So it's a little bit unfair to compare him to The Undertaker at that point. You know, I think we can justify Bray Wyatt going for the United States title from a storyline perspective. You know, John Cena put that title up as the big symbol of freedom, and I think Bray Wyatt would like to exploit that. The family has gone after the tag team titles before, so it's not completely against the realm of possibility.
Not at all. But I think you put Wyatt against Kalisto, and instantly, to me, that seems... I mean, if Cena still held that championship now, and Wyatt was going into feud with Cena, then, okay, I could probably accept it. Because there's more than just the championship there. There's more like a sort of, you know, he's feuding with John Cena the man rather than John Cena the champion. But with Kalisto, it just seems like, well, why? And I know that's kind of the motif of Bray Wyatt, but at the same time, I don't think that could sell WrestleMania to me. I don't think you could say, oh, yeah, Bray Wyatt's facing Kalisto for the US title. It's just a bit like, oh, okay, thanks, Battleground. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Wyatt with a championship at some point, a championship of some sort, but it just seems like it's too far gone to just put a throwaway mid-card championship on him at this point.
I don't know. I reckon he needs a reboot. And
Hasn't he already had a reboot?
I don't know. Like a proper one, like where he's actually pushed. I reckon you give him the US title, rebuild both of them together, like, and just have them dominate with the US title. That builds up two things. That's like hitting. I think you could do a lot of both of them together. Having the US on Bray, rebuild them both up, so then Bray ready for the main event, and the US title could be taken seriously again, which John Cena helped build.
Sure. I mean, we'll see going into WrestleMania. I mean, I've heard rumours that, well, I mean, it's kind of been almost confirmed at this point. The what's been called the Bulletproof Balor Club will be showing up sometime soon, perhaps even tonight on Raw. Now, whether this happens or not, you know, is going to be something we're going to find out. But if we're going to give Bray and the Wyatt family something credible going into WrestleMania, then I think the only route forward is to have the WWE-ified Bullet Club go against them straight away, because then at least makes the Wyatt family look like a legitimate threat on the roster. Like, you know, these guys are going straight for them because they want to make a name for themselves. And not only that, but Bray Wyatt, Finn Balor, that's money.
Sure, I agree. Moving on, we come on to SmackDown, where, I mean, I personally have not watched this week's SmackDown, but I hear that Wade Barrett actually wrestled on it.
Yeah. I don't know about Ben or Joe. I don't know if you guys actually watched SmackDown this week.
No.
I did.
No.
I didn't. I saw Triple H's promo.
So,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It was a very standard SmackDown, so there's not a lot that we can really cover here, but I was extremely surprised to see King Barrett wrestling in the opening match. It was the 8-man tag between the League of Nations, Lucha Dragons, Neville, and Dolph Ziggler. And,
Who won?
you know, the actual match itself started with Barrett and Ziggler wrestling. And it wasn't just Barrett came in, tagged out straight away. He was going for it. Took a lot of bumps. I was so happy to see it again.
Well, he has been injured.
Yeah, And from what I understand, it was pretty serious as well, like nerve damage or something like that. So it was so good to see him actually, do something other than standing about on the outside pretending that he still exists.
Yeah, and of course we do know that Barrett is leaving WWE when his contract runs out. Where do you guys see him ending up?
I reckon he'll be in TNA.
Yeah. I think Japan. Because I think that style of wrestling would suit him perfectly. But I know he's like expressed interest in going to the Indies.
I'd love to see him at Rev Pro going against the likes of Marty Scurll. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Rev Pro, PWG, something like that would be fantastic for him, I think. And he could make it big down there as well. Like, he's a big enough name.
They're offering big money, and he's got TV exposure, and he's got friends there like
Drew Galloway.
I
think that will be the best fit for him right now.
Sure. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him in TNA, but I think I don't even think it'd be worth it for him at this point. I think he'd make a lot more money wrestling on indies rather than staying with TNA for the very little time it probably has left.
Well, maybe, but they just offered James Storm big enough money for him to not stay with NXT or wrestle the indies.
Yeah, and they've re-signed Jeff Hardy. That's a big deal.
Yeah, but after all this,
got
they
money
haven't
now.
To offer Barrett. That's, like,
Yeah.
Going forward though for Barrett, I think the only way to give him a nice send-off in WWE, the only way forward is to turn him face going into WrestleMania or at WrestleMania, which would probably get a really good pop from probably the UK crowd. Turn him face and then feud him with Sheamus going into the UK tour and retirement match in London.
Yeah, that could potentially get someone a lot of heat, couldn't it?
Be perfect. Like, Sheamus would be would get mad. Yeah, Sheamus would benefit so much off getting mad heat from retiring Barrett in his home country, and not only that, but it would probably be a brilliant match that a lot of people would remember.
It gives him a nice little opening when he does, if ever decide to put his hand in the bucket again.
Yeah, for sure. Another point that the only other point that really came out of this week's SmackDown is something that I kind of noticed on Raw, but didn't really think much of it. But the formation of Y2AJ, the new bromance of AJ Styles and Chris Jericho after their series of 3 for the past few months. Do you guys think this is going to hold Styles back if he goes into a tag team?
No. Because
excellent.
Unless he goes for the IC title, I don't see a lot for AJ and Jericho to do. Unless they both go for the IC title, I don't think it'll hold them back at all. Apart from AJ or Triple Threat for the IC title with Kevin Owens, I do not see anything for AJ or Chris Jericho at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think they do quite well being put in the tag team match if they do a tag team turmoil match of loads of tag teams. Because what else is AJ Styles or Chris Jericho going to be other than just a full-air match? Like,
almost in the way that it kind of benefited Tyson Kidd and Cesaro last year.
Yeah, like they were just a team that were kind of thrown together at one point, and hey, look what they turned out to be. Fucking amazing.
I agree there, but at the same time, I feel like this is kind of not capitalising on the momentum that AJ Styles' debut has given him. Like, I mean, I'm not saying they should have given him a mid-card title straight away, but I feel for WrestleMania, like, they need AJ Styles against Kevin Owens, or AJ Styles against Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. I mean, personally, I think they could have saved Jericho and Styles until WrestleMania itself, but obviously they wanted to rush forward with that one a little bit. I think that if they threw the opportunity of having a Styles match on a WrestleMania, a singles match for the first time ever, and just putting him in a tag team that's probably only going to last a couple of months, I think it's complete waste.
Again, it's just another one of the things where we're going to have to see how it goes, and any opinions here are not necessarily wrong. I mean, it is likely that it could be just
this is our opinions. This is our podcast. Our opinions.
Fucking men. I love that.
That's quite true.
I mean, I can accept it as like a sort of Raw or a SmackDown tag team. I mean, that's cool. But for a WrestleMania, I think, no, I want Styles' WrestleMania moment. I want him against Owens. I want something for him to sort of, make this his year in a way. Coming off the Royal Rumble, I think, we want something to talk about when it comes to him, not him and Jericho.
What I want for AJ is a one-on-one match against Kevin Owens, like you, for the IC title. But storyline-wise, I just don't see... If they don't go that route, or the triple threat, I don't see anything for him at WrestleMania. And the tag team with Jericho would be good. They'd have great matches. Just imagine them versus New Day, like the pay-per-view after WrestleMania. That'd be a great match. They'd be good. They'd be good champions as well.
Yeah, I'm not denying that, but I still think that Styles is big enough to make it on his own. I don't think he needs to be thrown into a tag team. I think that kind of devalues him just a little bit.
He is big enough to go on his own, but there's just nothing for him if he doesn't go face Kevin Owens. There's just nothing
what else
for
is Kevin Owens going to do at this point? I mean, they're not exactly grooming him into a feud of any sort.
Well,
the best he's done recently is go against the Big Show, and if that's not a big enough momentum killer as it is, I don't know what is.
I don't know what they're doing with Kevin Owens. I thought it was going to be him and Sammy.
Yeah, likewise. And you felt, after the Rumble, you thought that was kind of a natural way forward, but obviously they've got other ideas for Sami Zayn over that weekend against Nakamura. But I think that, obviously we still got a lot of time between now and WrestleMania, so obviously they could start building the feud between Owens and Styles. It's an Intercontinental title feud at the end of the day. It doesn't need months and months worth of backstory and planning. They could literally build that up over the course of 2 weeks. If
I'd love for them to have a little tournament for the IC title. The winner faces KO at WrestleMania.
Considering the amount of big mid-card names at the moment, I think that could work really well.
That's perfect for SmackDown.
For sure, definitely.
Yeah, I'd be game for that. Speaking of Sami Zayn there, NXT this week announced Sami Zayn versus Samoa Joe in a 2 out of 3 Falls match for 2 weeks' time.
Oh,
what does everyone make of these kind of double finishes leading up to this?
I think it's been good. They're telling the story of how much they want to be number one contender. People getting funny of it. I don't know why people getting funny of it, because this 2 out of 3 Fall match is going to probably be the match of the year in 2016.
I think it's going to be a likely candidate. I don't know if it will take it though.
I think it'll be up there, definitely.
Sure.
And it's telling a good story of how much the NXT title means to these guys.
Yeah, I agree completely. I feel like the double finishes, the false finishes even, I think they have been a little forced in a way. I think I accepted the triple threat one because I was like, well, obviously they kind of need to get Corbin out of the way here in a legitimate way. The one between Joe and Zayn last week, however, or the week before, whatever it was, I think that was a little bit like, oh, really? It was kind of anticlimactic. Whereas this 2 out of 3 Falls match, I'm ready for an incredible match with a great finish. I think we deserve it, and we're going to get it.
I think this NXT was a great show. I know they're around, but the indie stars who have been messing around in NXT, I absolutely loved them showing around. Who is it? Who went against Bull Dempsey? Was it?
Oh,
what's his name?
Tommaso Ciampa.
Tommaso Ciampa.
Tommaso Ciampa.
I absolutely loved Tommaso Ciampa.
So, we're talking about Finn Balor. Next week, we're going to be seeing him against Adrian Neville in Neville's huge, I want to say huge, but it's going to be his return match to NXT. I think this is going to be a fantastic match. And I hope that Neville really pulls it out. I think Neville, of all people, needs a sort of a rejuvenation in a way. I've kind of forgotten that how good of matches Neville can produce because of the shit that he's been given in WWE. And he's not been booked as badly as what the Ascension have, for example, but it's still been pretty poor.
Been a definite lack of direction for Neville recently.
I think that, this match against Neville is going to, Balor even, is going to remind a lot of people just how good he can be. Not saying that everyone's forgotten, but I think a lot of people need sort of another few NXT Neville matches just to realise just how good he is again.
Yeah, I agree with you, but saying that, I do hope Balor comes out on top. He should come out on top.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it would not make sense on any level for Balor to lose to Neville, considering you've got both Zayn and Joe vying over the right to face Finn Balor. I mean, the NXT title does not look any less important than it ever has in the past right now. It looks like something worth fighting over. And if the champion just suddenly loses to one guy who hasn't even been in NXT for ages, it would just make no sense.
No, but at the same time, they do sometimes like to reaffirm the main roster guys over the NXT guys at times.
Oh yeah, I mean there is that mentality of like Vince would send, it'd be the same either way. Like Vince would want his guys on the main roster to prove that NXT, no matter how big they're becoming, they are still the development. They are still the noobs of this industry, even though they're probably more talented than, a lot of the guys in the locker room of the main roster. But that's beside the point. Like you look at when some of the NXT stars went up to the main roster prior to their actual debut. I think Charlotte was the best one to describe this. While she was the women's champion, she lost to Natalya within like 3-4 minutes on Raw or SmackDown, whatever it was.
Really strange one, especially as Natalya wasn't even someone they were pushing at the time.
Yeah, and like, I think it would be the same way if Neville came down to NXT next week, went over Balor, and seeing as he's been treated so badly on the main roster anyway, I mean, what's the point of him going over?
Yeah, for sure.
But I'll tell you one thing that I'm looking forward to even more than that match next week on NXT. The debut of Austin Aries.
Now, he's not a guy I'm awfully familiar with. I think you guys have a lot more to sell on that, so I'm quite looking forward to you guys selling me on him.
I cannot wait.
Who ever lived.
The man can go both ways. He could be a cocky dickhead heel, or he could be a massive babyface. And his in-ring work is good, both high-flying, technical, or stiff. The man can wrestle any type of match.
I'm pretty certain he's not wrestling next week. Well, this week. But at the same time, it's going to be so good seeing him in NXT. It just feels like this is the right time for him to come in and have, the career he's deserved, in a way. I mean, I know TNA treated him really well, but he's always seemed like a kind of Cesaro in a way. Every time he's been given something big, he's never really grabbed the brass ring, if you will. I feel like in NXT, he's finally going to get, like, top status.
Yeah, Sam, you will enjoy him.
I certainly hope so.
I don't know if you guys know who he's going into a feud with, going into TakeOver.
No, I've not seen any of that.
I don't.
I didn't even know it was Sami versus Nakamura until you said.
Oh. My
Someone
apologies.
hasn't been paying attention.
Well, it's kind of difficult in the fact that there are tapings and some stuff's been announced card-wise for future events.
I'm going to throw it out there because as far as I know, it's not much of a spoiler. But for any viewers that are going to get pissy at me, then just stop now or fast forward a couple of minutes. But Aries is going into a feud with Baron Corbin. Going into
The
TakeOver.
perfect guy to put him against if you want a babyface, Austin Aries.
Which is absolutely, I mean, it is actually absolutely perfect from anyone that comes from the, so-called independent circuit. I don't know if you want to count TNA as the independent circuit, but...
Well, no, because he was, one of the Ring of Honor guys as well.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I think this is going to get Aries over as one of the top baby faces, as well as getting Corbin over as one of the top heels, even more so. And I think Aries' style of wrestling is going to bring the best out of Corbin, as well as...
Corbin would learn a lot from Aries.
Definitely. And Aries will just be able to show off exactly what he's best at. He's going to be great. A lot of high hopes for Aries.
I'm
hoping...
He's going to be the greatest man to ever live.
I'm hoping Cocky Aries comes out, so we get an angry Corbin. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be nice. Corbin likes to quite, play the cool guy that nothing, he kind of brushes a lot of stuff off. Even a feud with Samoa Joe he's kind of played cool with recently. So it'll be good to see a different side of him. Moving on, we've got some other little bits and pieces to talk about. Does anyone have anything else during the week, kind of big news that they wanna mention in particular?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones over the past few days, and this one has kind of been hushed over by WWE recently, and it's that they half-heartedly announced that Triple H will be defending the title at the next network special in March. I don't know if you guys caught the thing they posted on Facebook or not, but
I got the announcement. Didn't they delete it?
yeah, they deleted it within, I think it was
Why
like
did
2
they
hours.
do that?
Well, that's
It's probably just one of those things that is miscommunication between
potentially.
because
Or
it's a,
they want
it's a different team that runs the Facebook page, that runs the .com.
That, or is it going to be like an impromptu thing on the night? Like, maybe might they want it to be like a sort of anything can happen on a network special kind of thing?
True.
Triple H will cut a promo and someone come out and challenge him, kind of thing.
Yeah. The question is, who do you put him against at that point?
I guess that is one we'll have to wait and see on. Right, I think that's about it for this week. It's been quite a big week. There's been a lot of big moments to talk about. Hopefully you can join us next week. We're planning to record this and get it up every weekend, probably Saturday, if not Sunday. This week's a little bit later due to a couple of issues that we've had.
And because we're all been ill and probably still are. But
Yeah, I'm still feeling
You can't
pretty
tell
ill.
by my voice, yes, we're still ill.
You
Hopefully
know.
I'll be a little bit more clear next time.
Joe
Not-
was busted up for this week as well, which was, one hell of a reason to not be around. But if you wanna hear more and get constant updates, you can follow us on Twitter at TGIS Podcast. You can also find us at thoseguysinshorts.com, which is our main hub at the moment. This is going to be going up on YouTube and iTunes. If you want to subscribe to us on either of those, then you'll get notifications each time
And
a new
like the
podcast is up. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do like and subscribe.
You didn't like it. You
If not,
wasted an hour of your life.
if you disliked it, feel
apologise.
free to leave a dislike. Any kind of
if you
response
did
is great.
dislike it, please let us know why you didn't like it, so we know what we can improve on.
If it's because of Sam, we understand.
Yeah, we get it, it's fine.
Because we can take criticism. We want it, because then we know how we can get better and make this
Cut a
better.
promo on you next week and it'll be funny.
Absolutely. This is our first episode, so any kind of advice that you guys have to help us improve is fully appreciated. It also says here in the notes, Matt stands tall over a bloody Sam with the championship. I'm not so sure about that.
I'm
But
not happy
I
with
think
that,
Sam is
because
no. Matt is the true champion of this match. So I think Matt gets the
I'm
championship.
touched. Thank you guys.
He's not
Okay.
the champion. That's my championship. Back the fuck off.
Matt has the championship for this episode.
I can
Oh,
live with
Harry.
that.
Ben,
You
you
guys
have to
have to
properly
thank you.
show up next week and take that championship away from them.
Tune in and find out.
And that is how we'll leave this week. Matt is the current MVP out of us four for this week. We will see how that kind of develops next week. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.